moving forward, youth leading change and youth participating in their futures is vital for that big picture positive change. So we're talking those big picture issues. How come we've got X number of youth agencies and X number of health people and X number of this working with youth and doing a really, really good job? As you've heard today, there's some amazing things going on. Yet statistically, our youth are still featuring quite prominently in the vulnerability, the at-risk stats and all of those things. So there's obviously two things to the problem. So one of the things that is put forward is youth participation in their futures is vital to positive change. And we know now that we're consulting youth. Who's going to flick me? Hang on a minute, hang on. Look, so we look at youth, I'm onto it. Look at the ladder of youth participation. And so to get to youth leading change, to get to communities leading change, we've got to climb a certain ladder, don't we? Because we all know that at one time, all we ever did, and that's going back a while, was to do two. And there was no explanation. It was very much, we are the experts and we're going to do two. And thank goodness that those times are way past. But when we talk about youth participation, a lot of people call this engagement, community engagement, youth engagement, which sometimes limits the scope, because the scope of engagement says, well, I'm going to engage you, so I'm going to come and we'll have a conversation. But it doesn't say that you're going to come along the journey with me, or I'm going to come along the journey with you. And I suppose that's why I like the term participation. Now this ladder of participation, and I'm not sure whether everybody gets these slides at the end of it, but it has a reference down the bottom where you can find it. But it talks about the various stages and how, when we're engaging youth, where it's adult-led activities in which youth do as directed without understanding the purpose of the activities. Now, I'm pretty sure we've climbed a rung or two above that. Then the next one is where adult-led activities in which youth understand the purpose of what we're doing, but have no input to how they are planning. So like when we're doing programs, we're often collecting data from youth about what they need, and then we go away and we collect data from other places, and we go away, but oh, goodness me, we've left the youth there, and then we go into our planning of what's this going to look like, and how are we going to implement it. So in that role, almost that governance leadership role, we want to be able to climb the ladder. Where we are right now is okay, because we are where we are, and we can only go up. Sometimes we come a step down, but we can only go up, and it's only with people like me sitting at 10 minutes at the end of the conference going, hey guys, have you thought about this? Because I see you're now doing this step, you're on this rung and you're doing it really, really well. Here's the next rung that I challenge you with to think about. So obviously, youth initiated and directed, youth-led activities and little input of adults, it's only rung 7. We really find the most power is when youth are initiated with shared decisions with adults. So youth initiated with shared decision with adults. Youth-led activities in which decision making is shared between youth and adults working as equal partners. So we're not talking about cutting us out as oldies, we're talking about how do we, because we are the ones that are at the bottom of the ladder, the youth aren't sort of there with us. There's youth who are wanting this stuff, and how do we work with them to help it grow? How can we join together on some rung of that ladder, maybe around rung 5, if we could get there, in which youth are consulted and informed. I think that's where we are now, as to how their input will be used and outcomes of adults' decisions. I think we're sitting majority about Rung 5, I've heard some initiatives that are adult-led activities in which decision-making is shared with youth. They're not quite as prevalent. But I think that's our next step after what I've heard today. So think about that and where you're going. And people say, I hear it all the time, we're not speaking to our youth, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. Well, actually we are. And I have heard, and I just quickly thought off the top of my head, of 3 or 4 youth things that I knew of. Now, and we've heard so many more today. And the thing is, so we are speaking to our youth. So let's stop people from actually saying we're not speaking to our youth, because we are. There's certain pockets where we're doing it really well. There's certain pockets where we're talking about it and actually not really doing it. But I think it's on the narrative. I don't think we're back down on rung 1 where it's not even being talked about. So Livingston Shire Council, they released 2 days ago their 2018 Youth Needs Analysis. Rockhampton Community Policing Board, they're collecting and talking to youth right now. Brittany Logger, was it yesterday? Wednesday, what? Yeah, Wednesday. She held her annual Youth Engagement Forum, that was on Wednesday, and Mission Australia. They have been running an annual youth survey for 16 years. And I'm sure we can think of many more. So what are we asking and why? And I think that this is really relevant, because if somebody says to me they're going to do engagement, they want to do this, that and the other first, and I say, well, why? What is it that you want to know? And why do you want to know that? And once you know that, what is it that you're going to do with it? You know, and whose need is it meeting? Because I think we need to be very clear when we're planning participating with youth and youth participating with us as the grown-ups, that we're very clear about our motives, why we're engaging youth, and we're honest. Is it for our benefit, or is it for the benefit of youth? Is it that we want to improve our service delivery to benefit youth? And that's okay if you follow through. But if you only collect the information and then you're selective in what you pick out of that, and you design different things in your service that suit you, then actually you're engaging youth to benefit your own needs. And the bottom line is, you know, like, so Livingston Shire, what's the biggest issue youth are facing in Livingston? What would you like to see Livingston Shire do for youth? How are you how aware are you of the supports available for youth? What do you think the biggest barriers are to stop young people accessing supports? So they clearly said, we're doing this, we're seeking to improve our programs, services, budgets and long-term planning in what will best help our young people. Whose benefits this? Framed up as to best help young people, I don't know. I think it's actually a good survey. But you don't know. I think that it actually has limitations when we start putting things around it. And you'll see the difference. Policing board, they're wanting to engage with youth who maybe are associated with youth offending and nuisance incidents and stocklands. So they're asking sorts of things like, what suburb do you live in, how old are you? So they want to get to know that youth. And so from there, they've said once they start to get a picture and an understanding of who those youth are, what they like about Stocklands, what they like about living in Rockhampton, why they hang out there, why they think kids get into trouble, then that's going to help inform the policing board as a collective to find new ways of working with kids. I love Mission Australia, because do you know what? If we actually all subscribe to Mission Australia, and if you look through all the demographics and all the surveying, there's not too much difference between Australia, other states, and male and female. You know, there's very little difference, because we will often say, well, our kids are different. And yes, they are. But I think that we can still gain some information out of a universal survey. So Mission Australia, listen to why they do this. We collect and publish this information in the hope that it will be used to inform the development of policies, services and programs that have the needs of young people at their core. We're still not getting that young people will be involved in the decision making. I think that'll evolve, and if I have anything to do with it, it will too. But that's a long journey. I come from a country that's 20 years ahead in this journey, but that's only because they are. And you know, we look at it, and you know, we still haven't really cottoned on to. If we took an Indigenous model of well-being and how Indigenous are as collectives, we would be miles ahead, because actually they make collective decisions. They do not make decisions based on individual, you know, it's like that community stuff. And we still haven't figured that out yet, which is a shame, but that will come and stuff. And you know, Mission Australia, so what I'm saying is it's a Australian survey, but 24,000 youth surveyed. Doesn't that give us a great idea? 4,589 of them were from Queensland. They didn't break it down into CQ or Southeast or whatever. 183 respondents were Aboriginal or Torres Strait. 190, this I find really, 198 responded, they had a disability. Now, it was almost double the proportion for males as it was for females. Now, this is sort of stuff we probably aren't going to find out by local conversations, and I think it's really important we incorporate the bigger picture, and then we look at where are the gaps for us in our own local place. And then we make sure that we've got very clear why we're doing what we're doing, that we're very clear that we're asking the right questions, because I've seen some appalling surveys, I'm sorry, that ask questions, but that are going to end up with double meaning, you know, not actually clear-cut results. So getting somebody to help you design your surveys, a professional, is really important. 798. These figures are from Queensland, not the 224,000, the 4,589. So the figures below that are Queensland figures in regard to, but bearing in mind Logan comes into that where we have very high level of multiculture. But we have high level of multiculture up here as well, because, and you know, with the various visa things. And the analysis they give includes gender analysis as well. So that's just brief. Youth reported that on participation in education, satisfaction for studies, those are the sorts of things they were asked about. Now, that's a big survey, and we could easily see, I always say, if you're going to survey, as much as possible, ensure your demographic questions match census data questions. I had a real problem with that around ethnicity, because census data wasn't very clear around that at all. But you know, like, because then you can overlay your stuff with population stuff. How happy are young people? I've given the website link to this report because it makes great reading actually. And where do young people say they go for help? Now this is one that I think we all need to be mindful of, because actually 82.8% go to friends. Why is the system, and why aren't those in the system, and I think I've heard today a lot are, but I've certainly worked in places and been part of things where not quite such energy, to actually, how do we help upskill youth friends, or youth as friends, to actually be able to support their mate when they come to them? How can we help parents? Because 76.9% said, when I've got a problem, I go to my parents. You know, relatives, friends and family, brother or sister. So the first port of call right across Australia when a youth has a problem is one of those top four, or all of those top four. So I think we need to incorporate that into our knowledge. And so does that change our viewpoint about how we might get a bit more depth and diversity. You know, what I'm hearing today with CQ Health, you guys are streets ahead. You know, you're doing some really, really good things. I also think it's the culture of the organisation, because, you know, when you look at who leads these things, they know that this collective way of working, this community leading change stuff, you know, this working across community, not just within our own silo, they know, their CEO knows all about that stuff. So I see the services in that area. Sorry, I struggled to turn around because of my right hip. I see the services in what we've heard today really, really aware of that stuff. Now, is that an influencer, Steve? I don't know. But, you know, also the youth justice and the influence of Karen, their regional director. She really gets this stuff. You know, Mick Shearer, when he was looking after communities, like, he started Every Child CQ. And it was his idea, and it built from there. So we look, GP and health professionals, 40.5%. School counsellors, they're up there. Community agencies, 10% of youth go to community agencies. Now, why is this? Is it because that's their experience as children growing through? And because I'll always say, if you want to change this stuff, you start with the first 1,000 days and you keep going. Because what we learn as young people and stuff, we carry into our teen years. What we learn as teens, that's what we carry into our adult years. And as we become parents, that's what our children learn, and the cycle continues. So I think we've got to be really realistic that really investing in this friends, parents, relatives, you know, that close-knit community network is a really important part of helping break the cycle of, despite all of our good work, statistics are still not necessarily supporting a shift in the right direction. And it's not that we don't do good work, believe you me, I've worked in this industry for 20 years and we bust our asses, and we have never enough resources. We're not paid as we should be paid, and we're expected, and the first ones that get blamed are actually, what's the government doing and all the rest of it, and what is the services doing? Well, actually, we're doing a lot. Well, you guys are doing a lot. I'm no longer in service provision. But we also need to shift our thinking as to how could we strengthen that. So key takeaways. And these are questions for you to think about. These aren't statements that I say are fact. Do we need to be careful how much we ask young people for their thoughts? Because it's becoming the latest trend. And I just wonder, I haven't seen many really follow through with going to that next rung of the ladder where we're involving youth and actually looking at their skills. That will come. That's the next rung I think we're going to. Is there a common theme in the way of in the why of these surveys? What do you notice about that? Because I think there was a couple of, you know, clear things in those themes why we're doing this survey and who's going to benefit the most from this. You know, could we link into what others are already doing? Because I think you know what I think. But that may help reduce how much we're asking young people. It may also strengthen our ability to move to the next rung of the ladder. And it may help to build on what we, and just gain specifics. Can we get some understanding of our young people from other surveys? What rung of youth participation ladder do we think we're on? What rung of the youth participation ladder would we like to be on? Half a minute, don't you ring that bell. Remember, we cannot climb a ladder in one step, and nor can youth. To climb a ladder, everyone needs to commit to the journey of learning and growing to enable us to take the next step together. And I think that that's really, really, you're at the stage, now that you're at step 5, you're at the stage where we've really got to start taking steps, strengthening that together step. So, thank you.